Good afternoon. To conclude this informal meeting of Consumer Protection Ministers, State Secretary for Consumer Protection, Alexia Bertrand, will give a statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So we've just finished the informal meeting with the ministers responsible for consumer protection, where we've gathered the 27 member states, and I must say it was a very inspiring day and there were very fruitful discussions. We exchanged our views on key issues and on the emerging challenges. It's about shaping the agenda for the next Commission for the coming years. And I think I can safely say that the objective of this informal meeting has been fulfilled. We had 2 roundtables today. 2 big topics. The first one related to a fair single market, and there we discussed 3 themes. The first one was best practice that is actually best practice in Belgium called CarPass. We discussed mileage fraud within the context of the sales of second-hand vehicles because that is what our CarPass system is all about. Well, when you sell a second-hand car, how can you be sure, how can you have the certainty that there is no mileage fraud? And the conclusion was that measures need to be taken to facilitate data exchange regarding mileage fraud and regarding mileage information between all member states. And as I said, the source of information was the Belgian CarPass system, which provides consumers with information on a vehicle's odometer history and gives them peace of mind and assurance regarding the mileage. So we can now use the Eucharist system existing at the European level as a basis for this exchange of data among the authorities of the member states. And just to conclude on that issue, since we've had our CarPass system since 2006, mileage fraud in Belgium has almost disappeared. It has vanished. So I think if we can help the consumers on that, it's already difficult enough when you need to choose a new vehicle, be it a second-hand vehicle or another one, but it's difficult enough to choose between an electric car, a hybrid car, a diesel car. So let's give consumers peace of mind, at least that there is no mileage fraud. The second theme on the fair single market topic was the one of consumer protection enforcement. And that was a very important theme in the discussion because it came back several times, already yesterday during the Consumer Summit, but today also there was a very strong focus on enforcement. Because drafting policy, crafting policy, and establishing the framework is one thing, but if we do not ensure the enforcement, then it's pointless to have a framework. And here the Belgian presidency noted the need to review the CPC regulation and consider the possibility of granting the European Commission some direct investigation and sanctioning powers for widespread infringements with a union dimension. And I must say, for these 2 first themes, the letter report that was issued yesterday on the single market also served as an inspiration because those are 2 of the conclusions of that report. On the one hand, that there is a need for more information, and that's also what we're doing with extending the CarPass system. It's giving information to consumers, empowering them. And on the other hand, there's a big focus on enforcement in the letter report. How do we enforce redress? How do we provide redress for third country companies and for multinational companies? And so that's the topic of consumer protection enforcement and the review of the CPC regulation. And then we ended the first panel with another important topic, that's the topic of financial exclusion, better access to banking services, financial education, the role of cash and digital euro. That's something that really lives with the citizens and echoes with the citizens within the EU who see bank agencies disappearing, ATMs that are disappearing, and who want to make sure that they still have access to basic financial services. So the conclusion was that efforts are needed to ensure that all consumers can enjoy their right to access useful and affordable financial services, especially in the context of digitalization of all these services. So there is obviously a digital trend, it's there to stay, but it's always about finding the right balance between digitalization and keeping access to basic financial services, especially for the vulnerable client. Promising proposals are under discussion, notably the mandatory acceptance of cash and improved access to cash, and the issuance of a digital euro. Both initiatives seek to support financial inclusion of vulnerable groups and build resilience of our retail payment system. So that was the first panel of the day, and then we had a second roundtable where we tackled issues relating to the digital transition, and we also had 3 themes on the agenda. The first one was sustainable e-commerce, and how we become more sustainable. It talked about delivery options for packages, returns, and how we can diminish our ecological footprint. Obviously, both consumer and trader awareness of environmental issues and their impact on environment should be raised and used to ensure more sustainable choices at the time of the purchase, but also at the time of the return of goods, so that we can do that, but without diminishing the rights of the consumer when buying online. A lot of questions are raised about that, and so a study should be done by the European Commission that has already taken many initiatives in that area, but should have a look at how we can, in a very broader sense, continue to have a more sustainable e-commerce. The second theme in the roundtable addressed the challenges presented by AI and automatic decision-making for consumer trust and well-being. And that was something where we had many discussions about that were raised about deep fakes, dark patterns, everything that can impact also more young consumers, children, teenagers, and vulnerable consumers, but not only, because we're all vulnerable to AI as it's such a new technology. And with the deep fakes, I think every single consumer is vulnerable to falling in those traps. We stress the importance of consumer education. There will be a lot of consumer education needed, but there may be also room for taking initiatives and regulation, even though the first roundtable talked more about enforcement and said time is more to enforcement than regulation. I think everybody recognizes that with very fast changing technologies, there might be some initiative needed in the coming years. And then finally, the phenomenon of influencer marketing, which has a major impact on consumer behavior, obviously, because you follow influencers that might influence the way you consume, might purchase products or services that you may otherwise not have purchased. And since influencers have a cross-border impact, the importance of a uniform approach to create a level playing field for influencers from all member states was raised, and that's something where there was great consensus around the table. So I'm truly heartened by the efficiency, the depth of our discussions. They were to the point, and we saw that we were very much aligned in terms of vision, in terms of objectives, in terms of priorities for the coming years. And everybody was in a mindset of protecting the rights of consumers while keeping innovation and bolstering, fostering innovation. So it's always the right balance to strike between technology that presents so many opportunities and the challenges that we need to streamline. I hope the results of these fruitful discussions will pave the way for future policies and initiatives in consumer protection, and I hope it will inspire, and I believe so, the European Commission for its future consumer protection priorities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these statements, and a very good weekend to all of you.